3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I happen to get very lucky discovering what I've done my entire life just by being at the right place at the right time. My name is David Uosikkinen. I'm a drummer. I've been a long-time drummer, 4 decades with the band The Hooters.
Ay, Dios mío, ¿tú te crees que estás hablando español? ¿Tú estás loco?
My parents came over from Finland in the early 50s. I was born in 1956. I have 2 younger sisters, Susan and Judy. We made a nice little family there in Mill Creek Falls in Levittown, PA. At first, it was a little rough in the neighborhood growing up with kids, and they were speaking English, I was speaking Finnish. I kid people now, I was telling them I speak Finglish, but it's nice to be bilingual. My dad was pretty influential musically in the sense that he didn't play an instrument, but he loved jazz. He would have Louis Armstrong records, and he had a record of Harry James, and he had a Gene Krupa record. And so my father at times would go see great jazz artists. We would go to the Lambertville Music Circus. Duke Ellington, Count Basie. I remember when I was already playing drums, my dad took me to see Buddy Rich. And I remember Buddy pulled up in a bus, came out, my father jumped on him, take a photo with my son. Of course I was knocked out because he was like a freak show to see. He was amazing. Life for me changed, really changed the minute I saw the Beatles on Ed Sullivan. I was 11 years old. The next day, my mom bought a record player, sat around the table listening to it. And then I was equally as blown away by the Rolling Stones. I mean, to this day, they're neck and neck my bands that I love. I live and die with their music. There was an opportunity to learn an instrument. I think I was in 3rd grade. And I, at the time, thought the sax was really cool. But my father encouraged me to play the trumpet. I happened to meet this kid, and he had an acoustic guitar, and he had a snare drum with a stand on it. And this is where my life took a complete change. I sat behind the drum, and I went. And Wayne looked at me and says, "You're the drummer." And then not long after that, we played a concert for our 5th grade class. We played the songs, we played What I Say, we did Wipeout, and we did a version of Mary Had a Little Lamb, which I sang. I graduated high school at Woodrow Wilson High School, which is now Harry Truman High School. I wasn't really encouraged academically. I kind of always knew I wanted to play music. Had I known, I would have loved to go on and study music theory and things like that. Some of the bands that I played with after high school, the Kooks, the Torpedoes. I played with a band called Sundance, which was a great experience because they had horns, and we did a lot of R&B, and I had to play a lot. Sometimes we'd play 5 sets and then go play at another club. Hot Property, and then the Hooters. I met Eric and Rob. I saw their band, Baby Grand, play. I bought the record. There was like a buzz about them in Philadelphia. I saw them at a music store in New York one day. And then a few months later, when I was in Hot Property, they came to see us play at the Anchorage in New Jersey. So I recorded 4 cover songs. They were heroes of mine. Once I heard Eric play guitar, I just couldn't believe what I was hearing. I couldn't believe the sound that was coming out of his amp. I couldn't believe he was getting that kind of sound out of his fingers. And I was in awe. It was like, wow, I'd love to be in a band with this guy. And then Rob was the same animal. It was amazing the way he played. The three of us could play together. Rob's bass fingers locked in with my foot like no other person ever played with. It's still like that today. He's still a remarkable player. Both of them have always been something that, for me, it's like you try to play with musicians that are better than you. Well, that's always been the case with them because they're both such incredible musicians. I guess that's what makes it why I've been wanting and a desire to still play with them after 4 decades. They're great, and they inspire me to be better. They came from a band that was basically Eric and Rob writing the songs with David Kagan, but they didn't do a lot of live playing. And when they formed the Hooters, they really were looking for a band that could do the live thing consistently. And I was the perfect beast for the Hooters at the time. They did ska and reggae because of what Rob loved and Eric got into. They both loved Bob Marley, but they were really inspired a lot by what was coming from England, Selectors, Specials, reincarnated ska feel that was done from Jamaica back in the day was a thing in 1978, 1977. For me, I felt it immediately. Probably the most significant difference when I heard reggae was listening to the bass drum falling on the 2 and 4. Like if you're on and so all of a sudden the cross stick one drop kind of stuff on it. A reggae thing would be the backbeat, 1, 2. And a lot of times you have a chica with a guitar. 1, 2, like that.
There was no other drummer that I'd seen like David, the way he played. He's got the reggae beat, the ska beat, the rock beat, but he would play and all of a sudden, especially in the reggae and the dub and the ska stuff, all of a sudden he'd just leave a hole where you think there was a beat and there's no beat and he'd just fill it on the next beat. And that's just his style and that's the way he plays and he's always played that way and he's just, nobody else plays like David.
As a drummer, I just found it to be really interesting rhythmically, challenging to play, and I never really got bored playing at all. To this day, I like playing it. When the Hooters formed, we recorded our first 45 in 1980 at a place called K-Gym Studios. Initially, Eric Robb played with me, and there were 2 other guys that joined us, was Bobby Woods and John Kuzma. Amazing musicians. Bobby, to this day, was one of the best bass players I've ever played with. And John, a great artist in his own right, great singer. Early on, we started playing so much. We got a residency at a place called Grendel's Lair on 5th and South.
The Hooters are Rob Hyman and Eric Brazilian, formerly of Baby Grand, another Philadelphia group that produced 2 albums before folding. Bobby Woods and John Kuzma, formerly of Hot Property and the Shakes, and David Uosikkinen, also of Hot Property. This combination of some of Philadelphia's finest has made the Hooters a big attraction at Grendel's Lair and other clubs.
We played it for 6 weeks. There were maybe 30 people at the first gig. And then every week it just doubled, tripled, quadrupled. Charlie Kendall from WMMR, he talked about it on the radio.
We shall see you tomorrow. It's 93.3 WMMR in Philadelphia. I came here in 1981. The music scene was on fire. You'd walk down South Street on a Tuesday night and there'd be 3 clubs packed. Now, a key part of that, I think, was that this station, WMMR, played a lot of local bands. So when I was coming here, they were playing Robert Hazard and the Heroes and the A's and, of course, the Hooters. They would be given prime spots. And so it gave them an opportunity to be heard by a large amount of people. So it was this wonderful kind of natural cycle that grew the club scene from J.C. Dobbs on South Street, grew the music scene, and then more and more bands were forming and getting attention, and record companies were starting to take a look, and these bands, including the Hooters, got signed, and many of them got a shot on a national level, and some of them did very well.
We were invited to play a place called the Latin Casino that turned into Emerald City. And we were asked to open for a live radio broadcast. And we played Man in the Street, which was a Scotalites song, All You Zombies. We recorded a couple of those songs, and they started playing them on the radio. I remember, and not only at nighttime, they were playing us on different shifts.
The sound of Philadelphia was a part of the Gamble and Huff sound of the 70s. And all those wonderful bands that they worked with. So there was that soulful kind of sound that they were instrumental in shaping. But when I got here in the 80s, it was a rock and roll thing.
So many great artists, classical, jazz, rock, pop, singers have come out of Philadelphia. It's staggering. Springsteen, Billy Joel, Elton John, Yes, David Bowie. It's pretty interesting. Time was just right for a good-looking Philadelphia band. These guys could write good songs, but more important, they could play and they could sing. They were a big part of Philadelphia music, rock history, and remain that.
In 1982, we were asked to open for The Who at JFK Stadium, and that was massive. And to this day, it's still kind of a legendary show. The venue held almost 100,000 people. We met Mick Jagger backstage. He came to the show with his daughter. He was a friend of the promoter, Larry Maggot. I've been watching him since seeing him on Ed Sullivan and watching whatever videos you'd see on TV. He was not real to me. Looking at him in person, he was bigger than any movie star to me. And there he is in front of you. I said, hey, mate. It was really incredible. Mick Jagger is, if you think you have visualized what Mick would be in person, a rock star, that's him, man. It's all over. It's in his DNA. The way he walks, the way he talks. Mick, those lips. He's cool. Eric and Rob took a break to do Cyndi Lauper's record, She's So Unusual. The time the Hooters came together again after Cindy's record, Eric called me up. He said, listen, we're gonna start playing again, and you got this bass player that you're playing with from youth camp, and we'd like to see if he'd come play with us. His name was Rob Miller. And at the time, we had a friend that played in Robert Hazard and the Heroes. His name was John Lilly. He was invited to play with us as well. Amore was our first album with multiple songs, and we recorded at Studio 4 on 4th and Callow Hill. And it was an independent record, much like we make records now. It was produced by Rob and Eric. The whole thing from soup to nuts was done in 11 days. At the very same time, we were getting a lot of interest from record companies. In 1984, the Hooters were signed to Columbia Records. It was a big deal to get a record deal with a record company that had Bob Dylan, Billy Joel, and Michael Jackson, Bruce Springsteen. Having an opportunity to make a record with a major record company back in the day is what anyone in a band wants to do. I remember radio was king at the time. And I'm driving down the street, and I think I went to like 6 radio stations, and Day by Day was being played. That was the highest charting song we had on that record. It went to number 6 on the Billboard charts, and it was on every radio station.
So the Hooters did a brilliant thing to get them to be known by a younger generation. So they were already big on the bar scene, but you have to be 21 to go into a club. And so they played every club and they had a huge following, but they had this brilliant idea of playing high schools. And they slowly started building this really young crowd, and people started loving them. We had this contest. The School Spirit Contest took place in 1984. we encouraged students, high school students from Delaware, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, to write on a little 3x5 card, "We want the Hooters at our school," and mail it in. And the school that sent the most cards would get a free concert by the Hooters. So at MMR, we thought we'd get a couple thousand. And we got so many, the Postal Service started to hate us because they were dragging in giant boxes of these cards. We got 26 million cards. We had to rent a warehouse space to store them all. It exploded. Nobody could have seen that.
We saw the Hooters in 1985 at Upper Marion High School.
And then saw them again tonight for the first time
it's
live.
So fun.
At the time, MTV was king. So if you can have a great record and you have a great video, you're going to be all over the place. We shot All You Zombies on the Thames River in London with Donald Camo. It was fun, man. We had a great time. That video is super cool to this day. It was a great experience, and it helped the record.
And now to London for the Hooters in progress.
July 13th, 7 a.m. One concert, over 60 artists, including Bob Dylan, Mick Jagger, Tina Turner, Tom Petty, and Madonna in the U.S., and U2, David Bowie, Elvis Costello, and The Who in the U.K., banding together to halt the African famine crisis.
We were fortunate. Live Aid happened. We opened that show. That was gigantic for us. We played and people saw us in Australia. They saw us in England. They saw us all around the world. That opened a lot of doors. And then when you get with Columbia Records, you get a record company and a staff in Europe. They worked our records. And in turn, we end up having hit records in places like Germany, which was pretty wild. Germany, All You Zombies was a hit record. Amnesty International was really amazing concert because we played at Giant Stadium. I remember it was like total rock star shit for me because I got picked up in a limousine, took me to Giant Stadium. I was the only one in the limo. And I remember meeting Robert De Niro. Muhammad Ali came backstage. He had an entourage around him. Yoko Ono, Miles Davis was back there. U2 was back there. It was massive. And when we played, people knew our songs. So it was a remarkable show.
What is wrong with me? All my parts are breaking down. What is wrong with me? I can't see or hear a sound. Something crazy's got a hold on me.
Back in '85, we were on the road constantly. We didn't get off the road. I mean, I kept a suitcase packed. I wasn't ready for what came along with it, and I wasn't equipped to deal with success either. I mean, when I was young, I got into the sex, drugs, and rock and roll thing. I really don't even like admitting it. Back then, there were drugs, there were a lot of women, and I partook in it. The band literally had a intervention with me. I thought I was going to rehearsal, and they're all sitting around. They said, "We're not practicing today, we're talking to you." And they gave me a choice. They were friends of mine, and they saw me destroying myself. And I was doing some things that were out of my character. We were playing gigs, and they stopped doing the gigs for me to go away for 3 months. Those guys were taking vacations after the first tour, going to Hawaii, going to Puerto Rico, and I'm going to Delaware City, Delaware for a rehab. And it was the best thing I ever did. My last day of living that life was June 26, 1986. And my life changed drastically for that. You know, I went to rehab, and then I lived in AA meetings after that.
I can't put it into words. Some cacophony of a language so absurd.
You know, I started playing with some guys who were using a little heavier drugs than just smoking pot. And because I wanted to be part of the clique, I tried it, and it was like a fish to water. So I had a heroin addiction I kept it for 10 years. For a while there, I thought I controlled it, but there's no controlling that, you know. And then eventually, you know, it got the best of me, and it killed a lot of my friends. So I was very lucky to get out of it when I did. I think I went down as deep as you can go. Apparently, I heard you could go deeper, and you can. But I got out when I got out. Thank goodness I did, and it wasn't for those guys and my family who were very supportive. Not everybody has that. You know, the people around me circle the wagons. They're like, we're gonna save Dave. And they did.
What is wrong with me? What is wrong with me? Yeah.
I used to say I didn't think I would live past 30. Well, I think when you're an addict or an alcoholic, you don't believe in another way of living. You almost can't until somebody inspires you to not live that life anymore. Because when you're living that life, it's a full-time job. That's a full-time job. First thing I thought about in the morning was, I gotta go cop, or I'm not gonna be able to get through the day, or I'm gonna get found out. You're as sick as your secrets. So I had to get my act together, and it was not easy, but it got easier when I got honest. That's when it got easier, for sure. Our second album, One Way Home, was the first album I recorded sober for a long time. And I remember I really wanted to record a record, but I was nervous about doing it where I wasn't drinking, I wasn't using any drugs, and the way I dealt with stress I didn't realize I know now was through just having a drink or doing some drugs, which made me chill out. And I wasn't doing that then.
Hi, good evening, welcome to Britain's #1 pop show. In the studio tonight we have Tapao, we've got the Proclaimers and Paul McCartney.
And interrupting their world tour to be with us at 22, it's the Hooters Satellite.
We played Top of the Pops. We had a hit song in England. It was in the top 20 satellite. So we go to the Top of the Pops, but no one told me that Paul McCartney was going to be the other guest. We walk in, and he has an unmistakable voice, and I heard him, and we ran over there. And Paul recognized us, said, "Hello, mates." He came over and introduced himself. It was an amazing experience. We hung out all day and talked about music.
Introduce the very best type of live rock and roll in the studio. This one builds and builds. You're going to enjoy it. Please welcome from the United States, the Hooters!
The following year, we were doing their version of Saturday Night Live, and George Harrison was doing an interview for the BBC. Apparently, he told somebody he wanted to come down and meet us. George was another one that was just as nice and kind as can be and encouraging. We were getting to meet one of our icon heroes. He was the coolest. Some significant things happened in 1988. We had a new member of the band, Fran Smith, great bass player. The guy could swing and play straight away. We made the record Zigzag that year. We had a song called 500 Miles on the record. You know, it holds up today. And we had Peter, Paul, and Mary, who were icons of the folk era, came in. They sang back up on it. Years later, we played the Berlin Wall with Roger Waters, who told the people, I guess a promoter, that if the wall ever came down, he would play a concert at the Potsdamer Platz. It turned out he was a fan of the Hooters, and he called and he asked the Hooters to open that show. That was massive. That was an incredible day. It was a remarkable feeling. And Roger was the most calm human being I've ever met. He just stayed cool. He's like, hey, this is gonna happen, and it did. I left for California in 1990 after things sort of slowed down for the Hooters. I wanted to go to Los Angeles. I started doing some sessions. I was lucky the week I got out there, I got hired to do a record for Giant Records with this band called the Soul Kitchen. And not too long after that, I was hired by Alice Cooper to do a record. I worked with Patti Smythe. I got very lucky where I was doing a session for a lawyer. I worked for a company called mp3.com. A week later, the company called me and asked me if I wanted to come and work for them to help manage the music because they were all engineers. He offered me stock and 3 weeks vacation. and insurance. And we created what they call genre trees. They created a database of music. Record companies took exception with us having a database of music that they felt that they owned. It was proprietary to them, so they end up suing us. And then we end up being bought. I have this site, it's called Debut Drums. It was inspired from working at mp3.com, where somebody can reach out to me on the internet through an email, hire me to play drums on their song, $300 a track. Dal and I have been friends since 1982. Dallin worked in radio, but eventually started working with Cornerstone Management that handled the Hooters, and we were lucky. We traveled around the world together. We went to Japan, we went to Europe, and we were just friends, and she's somebody I respected. I would always ask her opinion about music stuff, and then eventually my marriage went south, her marriage went south, and stars aligned, and we end up together. In the Pocket was something that was basically created by me and Dallin, walking through Rittenhouse Square, and it's been an amazing project. I thought it's been a lot of fun. It was just something I would do that was my own, that I would manage and I would control with Dallin. It was a fun project because I get to record songs that inspired me coming up in Philadelphia, show a little background in the history of the song and who was recording on the song, and I brought in other musicians that I normally don't work with. So it's been a project that has been something that we're not always playing, but there's times when we play a gig, we have over 20 people with us. I have a horn section. It's been a real labor of love. It's been great.
So within the Pocket, David got to play with all of these incredible musicians that he came up with in the business in the 70s and 80s. These bands, there was always like a competition. Robert Hazard and the Heroes, Richard Bush and the A's, they were all kind of at the same time, so he never got to play with them, but he respected them all so much. So within the Pocket, he gets to play with all of these great musicians that he never could play with before. And over the years, they've all just become such great friends. It's really, really been a wonderful, wonderful thing.
The thing I love about what David is doing within the Pocket is that he has taken some of the legendary bands of that era and well before, with the idea of celebrating that music and this rich musical heritage and bringing it alive in today's terms with today's musicians. It's a fascinating concept in the Pocket.
David had a great idea to bring Philadelphia musicians together and do a bunch of different songs. Some of them are resurrecting songs that were originally done years ago. And to make a record, to do one track a month, do a video, and sell the tracks on iTunes to benefit the Settlement Music School.
I also play with Smash Palace. Steve and Brian remind me of Rob and Eric. The tandem are both great writers. Since 2012, I've recorded a record called Smash Palace Live at the Auction House. I recorded Some Kind of Magic with them, produced by Bill Whitman. I recorded an album called 21. I recorded an album called Rite of Rain. And I recorded a record called Extended Play. It's a great thing to do, to get involved with other musicians, because sometimes when I'm doing the same thing, it gets stale. I feel like I'm getting stagnant. Whether I am or I'm not, it helps me to kind of keep the creative juices going.
David is a powerhouse. He's so fun to watch. He's such a vibrant human being to begin with, and he's such a nice person, and he's got this effervescent positive energy and this drive. He's always on fire. He's passionate about music, and he loves what he can bring not only to the Hooters or in the Pocket, but to any band he plays with, and he brings something different to each of them, but it's something brilliant.
To this day, David Uosikkinen has the enthusiasm he had back when he was a kid. He's standing on that side of the stage, we have to hold him back. He's so ready to play every day. Just the passion for what he does is just amazing.
click, you want to groove with that click. I visualize a musician playing a cowbell. My guy is Sam Clayton from Little Feat. I picture him playing a cowbell and I'm playing along with him. That's my click.
That rock solid beat in rock and roll particularly is vital. You can see the power of a drum beat to form the backbone of any band's sound. It starts with that basic foundation. Once you hear the first note that he hits, you're off and running.
The drummer is the soul. The drummer is the power. And that's David in a nutshell. Yeah.
It's analogous to me to a heartbeat. It's the foundation. It keeps it moving. It's the beat. It's the energy that the rest of the music has to latch onto. And there's something really special about that energy and that focus, which is why most drummers I know, they're a major and important part of that creative process. Ringo was amazing. You can't play on 227 of the greatest songs in history and not be good. There was an aspect of what he brought to the Beatles. They became the Beatles. There was the glue, there was that emotion. David has a special part in pulling it together, even if they're written without David involved. When the Hooters play live, there's no question there's Davey in the background and he's keeping it rocking. The drummer, that intensity and that focus and that time is really what sets the stage for everything. It's the foundation of the music. David has such an open mind and attitude toward playing. He's amazing. That's just job one. But he's open to ideas. It's not like, no, this is how I have to play it. You have an idea, he'll incorporate that.
I met David when I was a kid. The Hooters were playing in Lancaster. They were cool afterwards, and they talked to me and they gave me advice. First thing Eric said, maybe you should get a guitar that stays in tune. And I just kept the relationship with Dave all these years, and I've learned a lot from guys like him. You know, here's a guy that's played with everybody. Well, I listen. A drummer is the heartbeat of the band, and he's pushing the band. I have to have a drummer that hits me in the chest. A lot of people say, your guitar, you play loud guitar. No, I don't. I play with loud drummers. So I turn my guitar up loud.
The resurgence of vinyl is spectacular. The funny thing is, with a lot of artists, back in the 80s, when vinyl went away, the major labels renegotiated the terms of the contract. So it was CDs, streaming, digital downloads, but they left vinyl out of that scenario. So now the artists own the vinyl rights because it wasn't in the contract. So some artists are going and they're actually selling vinyl, and they're making a lion's share of the profit because they're not giving 85% to the record company.
I didn't realize that a record company was really a bank, and they're giving you a bank loan that eventually you're going to have to pay back. You sell 1 million records, you think you're making millions of dollars. Well, it's not the case, because you're paying back the record company, you're paying back whatever the video cost, could be like $350,000. I remember coming home after doing the first tour in 1986, I got a check for $18,000, which was a lot of money for me back then. But, you know, I wasn't stupid. I did the math. I'm going, but I go, where's all the other money go?
In the past, there were a couple revenue streams. If you owned a studio, you could charge for studio time. If you're on the other side of the glass, you could make money, royalties, by selling your records, publishing, radio airplay, and live. Well, over the years, it's changed dramatically because the need for studios has pretty much gone away because you can do it in your bedroom on a laptop. So the only way really to make money is by performing live. Basically, what a lot of artists do is you have your day gig.
If you have a manager and you have a publicist and you have a booking agent and a web person, a roadie, songwriter, producer, that's what you need. And if you can't get them, you have to become them.
The first thing to know is that there's two different music businesses. There's the live music industry, and then there's the record business. They're two separate things. It used to be that the record business was thriving and your biggest chance to make a lot of money. But the record business sort of doesn't exist anymore. Your live performances used to support the promotion of your records, and now it's the opposite. In streaming world, which now 90% of music consumption is streaming now.
And streaming pays 0.006 cents per listen.
You make about $7,000 per million streams.
This music industry business is brutal, and you could have all of the talent in the world, but it really depends on a lot of luck.
I bring you to a rock and roll song by AC/DC. It's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll.
There's always a mountain to climb playing the drums. There's always something to learn. Even to this day, I feel like every day I'm learning something. I spent 3 hours giving lessons yesterday, and I feel like when I'm giving lessons, I'm learning, and sometimes I learn from my students what they're doing. You know, it's great to sit down at a record and learn a song and learn things. It's challenging. There's so many great players out there. But if you can come up with your own style and your own way of playing, that's art. Joe Casadas was a jazz drummer that I knew from when I was a kid. I would pick up these magazines. Never failed. If I pick up a Slingerland magazine, I would see Gene Krupa, I'd see Buddy Rich, Brett Deems, Joe Casadas from Hazleton, PA. And I happened to be walking in New York. I was about 19 years old, and there was a drum shop called a Modern Drum Shop. I walked in that drum shop, and he was behind the counter, and I recognized him. I said, "You give lessons?" He said, "Yeah." He goes, "Next Saturday, be here at 11 o'clock, $25. And I was horrified because I was like thinking, where am I going to get $25, and where am I going to get a train fare to go up to New York? You know, and usually I'd play a gig the night before, and I get on the train, I go up, and I would take a lesson with Joe. And Joe was my teacher for a couple of years. He was a guy that brought me to the next level. You know, one day I was taking a lesson, and I didn't practice my lesson, and he smacked me with a stick. So I learned a lot from him. Be there. He was great. He was a great teacher. I played yellow drums because of Tony Williams. I love Tony Williams. Yellow is just, you know, makes me feel good. You can learn to play the drums. The band trusts you. You have to trust the drummer. That's not just drumming, that's the person. We're not the front guy, and we don't want to be the front guy. Buddy Rich said it best, a great drummer will make an average band sound great. You put 5 musicians in a room that are great musicians, a lot of times if they don't get into a fight, you're going to come out with something magical. The memory thing is funny because I can forget where I put my keys, but I can remember a song that I played in 1978, or especially with the Hooters, I can tell you parts that I play on songs that I haven't played for a long time, and I can remember that. Memory-wise, for some reason, my recall is really good when it comes to music. Music is that open space that gives you an opportunity to grow every day if you want.
Playing some dates in Philly, then going overseas in Europe, they've always been incredibly popular, particularly in Germany and Sweden and places like that. But they started going back in the summer and then going back every year, and the demand kept growing. But when you see them in Europe, it's another dimension altogether.
We're in Germany. We're in the middle of our tour. Last night we were in Berlin, and today we're in Bad Schwarzenheim. You know, it's a lot of work, you know, doing it, traveling through, but, you know, what else am I going to do? You know, this is what I do. It's a great time, and the German audience is one of the greatest to play for, so they're the best. You know, German audiences are just enthusiastic, and they know the songs, and it's a great country to come to play. Been really behind the Hooters for a long, long time, so we'll keep coming back.
So I have a brother who bought a couple of Hooters albums in the beginning of the 90s, and so I listened to them, and a couple of weeks ago I saw that there's a Hooters concert in Berlin. I was like, hey, very cool. I'm in it. I think for me, Day by Day is one of the best ones.
The music and the sound, so I like it very much, yes.
Und warum kann ich es nun sehen?
David is my favorite drummer. I love him, and yes, last concert I get the drumsticks from him. Yes, the best present I got ever. It was amazing, amazing, every time amazing.
It was great, yes, I like it very much, and it was just great, yes.
You know, I'll probably do this till I die. It's like breathing. I love doing it.
Yes, there's reasons to live, something to hope for.